from Obnoxious and Anonymous, also the writer and director of the upcoming Twin Peaks fan film Queen of Hearts. I am here today with another Queen of Hearts filming update, but I'm also joined. A few weeks ago, I did a video with Maddie, who is playing Annie, she's also the producer of the film. But some people kept saying, "Hey, you need to get Caroline on this as well." And I said, that would be a lot of fun. So I reached out to Charlotte and said, would you be interested? And she said, yes, that sounds like a bunch of fun. So here you are. I want to thank you for joining me with my very bad quarantine hair.
It's not as bad as mine. You know, my hair is still recovering from that 80s cut that I had to do for Queen of Hearts. So
all right, so let's just start at the beginning before you even got involved with this project. I know you've been acting for a long time, and you started, I believe, overseas. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you got involved in acting?
So I was born in Latvia. It's a small country in Northern Europe. And I started out as a model when I was 13. And then slowly transitioned into acting, moved to London, and was living in London for several years. And then I moved to LA to pursue acting. But David Lynch and Twin Peaks in particular has played a massive role in my life and my career, because I think I was 7 years old when I saw Twin Peaks for the first time. And even though I wasn't supposed to watch it because I was too young for that, my mom was watching it. And I don't know, for the first time in my life, I just felt like it was something familiar, like I belonged there in that weird, twisted, dark, beautiful world created by David Lynch. So, yeah, ever since I've been a huge, huge fan. And
now, did you go back and rewatch like all his other films, or was it primarily Twin Peaks that you were invested in?
I think the first time I saw a movie directed by David Lynch, I think I was probably like 14 or 15. And I think that was Wild at Heart, which still is my favorite movie. And then, oh my God, ever since I've seen all of his movies, like, you know, multiple times each. And yeah.
Do you have a favorite besides Twin Peaks right now? What do you think is your favorite?
You know what? It changes all the time. Like when I was rewatching Twin Peaks for this project, I also rewatched Fire Walk with Me, and that became my favorite, because what I love about David Lynch, that you can watch the same movie over and over again and you just discover so many different things. And like even me watching Twin Peaks for the third time, like I'm a different person now and I see things differently and I discover like new things and I'm like, oh my God, wow. So rewatching Fire Walk with Me, I was like, oh my God, this is such a great movie. So good.
Have you seen the fan edit of it?
No.
So there's a version you can find online, but people sell it on eBay, where they spliced in about 90% of the deleted scenes back into the film according to the script and created a like 4-hour cut of it.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's actually, once you see that, there is no other version of Fire Walk with Me. That's pretty much it, because it's like, you know, you get to see everything, not just the Laura Palmer story. Now I know, because I remember when I was first talking with you, I saw that you had been to the town of Twin Peaks, Snoqualmie, North Bend area. How did you get up there? Like, was that just sort of like a pilgrimage for you? Like, I have to go and see these places?
I always wanted to go, but then my husband actually organized it for our honeymoon. I mean, that was like the best thing to do. And I like Before that, he watched Twin Peaks and he watched Firewalk with Me. No, he watched Firewalk with Me before Twin Peaks, I think, and he did not understand it. And he was like, "Ugh, what is this? I don't get it," right? And then he watched Twin Peaks for a little bit, and then we went there, and then he was like, "Oh, now I get it." Like, just being in that environment, because that place is just so magical, and you just start, like, I don't know, it just adds to that fascination.
It actually feels like you're in the town itself
Yeah,
because you are in the town, and
yeah,
it's not like it almost feels like the Hollywood backlot, but just for real. Because like
yeah,
there's the hotel in the falls, there's the diner just right there, like exactly where it would be in the show. I always get the feeling like Mark Frost and David Lynch conceived of the show, and then when they found that area, tailored the show to the area so that
yeah.
because you really do feel the power of being in a lot of those locations.
Oh my God, yes.
You know,
It's just magical. There's something in the air. Yeah.
exactly. And we'll get into all that in a little bit, but now season 3 came out, and were you one of those people that just was watching Showtime like the moment it aired, or did you catch up with the episodes like a few days later, or where
Um,
were you mind state wise when season 3 came out?
I was so excited. Like, I couldn't wait. And I can't even remember. I think, yeah, I watched the first episode the moment it aired. And then I rewatched the whole season during my preparation for this project. Yeah.
And what is your takeaway from season 3? Because it's obviously very different than the other seasons.
I think the more freedom David Lynch has, the better it is. And I can definitely see that. I don't know, I feel that he had more freedom this time, because there's a lot of like long shots. And I think he just loves doing that. And um, I don't think people should even try to understand it. It's just an experience. It's an experience. Like, it's the way it makes you feel. And personally, my favorite episode is episode 8
Well, yeah, I think a lot of
because,
people would say that.
yeah, right. Because it's just so good. It's the key to all of your questions, everything that you wonder and you want to know about Twin Peaks. It's kind of, it answers.
I mean, I like the fact that it kind of drops in the middle of the season, but
Hmm.
there is sort of a wicked part of me that wishes it had started the season. Like if the season had just started with that long shot into the atom bomb, people would have been like, "What are we in for?"
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so season 3 wraps, and then I get this idea to do this project. This is in the fall of 2017. Now, were you aware, like, of like these sort of like YouTube after shows of like talking about Twin Peaks? Were you following like the YouTube channel? So you had no idea, like
No,
who I was at all.
no idea. Mm-mm.
Okay,
No.
so I decided to do this project, Queen of Hearts, and then I put out a thing in backstage for actors, and you submitted for it.
Mhm.
And then, see, the hard thing was once it got like it was going to happen, and I think you were a part of these discussions a little bit. I was kind of torn about where this was going to be shot, because at first the original plan was to shoot some things up in the Pacific Northwest,
Yeah.
and then shoot the bulk of it more or less in California, much like they did the original series.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
And then when I went up there to look at potential places to shoot, I got involved with some people who were locals in that area that were big Twin Peaks fans, and people who knew the area and the culture and all that. And they seemed really keen on wanting to really be involved with the project on a real tangible level, like so it then became, well, are we going to shoot this entire movie in the Pacific Northwest?
Mm-hmm.
And so it became like, okay, am I going to shoot all the Annie stuff up in the Pacific Northwest and then the Cooper Caroline stuff in California? Or are we going to shoot everything in the Pacific Northwest? Because I remember talking with you about, well, would you be game of coming up to the Pacific Northwest for like
Right.
2 weeks and shooting
Yeah.
everything there? Because I was being sold on the idea of using Seattle as sort of a stand-in for Pittsburgh. Now, that ultimately did not happen, and we ended up doing what I originally thought was going to happen, which was shoot some stuff in the Pacific Northwest, but the bulk of it in California. Now, you had submitted for the film, I believe, for Annie. If I remember going back, and it said submission for Annie. And when I think everyone just naturally just picked Annie. And
Did
then,
I?
yeah. So, but I think it was just natural because it was just, I think it was just what the main role that was there.
I just probably saw Twin Peaks and I just clicked on the first
Right.
thing I
Okay. So let me ask you this. As an actor, you're in LA, you do lots of projects, you're constantly busy. I mean, if you follow her Instagram, I mean, you're everywhere and
Yeah.
shooting tons of, photos and films and all that stuff. Okay. So you see this project, Queen of Hearts, Twin Peaks fan film, right? What makes you think, oh, I would like to be a part of that when you didn't know anything about it? Like what, like, did the words fan film like throw you off at all? Or, where were you coming from as an actor?
Uh, okay. So first of all, Twin Peaks and fan film. The first one was so much stronger than the second one.
Well, that's good.
Like
Good
I
answer.
would be involved in anything that has to do with Twin Peaks or any David Lynch thing, whatever. And speaking of fan films, I haven't seen that many,
Mm,
but my husband has directed a fan film, and that one I watched. And it was really good. So I didn't really have any bad experiences with fan films. So yeah, I
right.
didn't
Right.
think any of it
Well, I
really.
appreciate you, throwing your hat in the ring because the moment I saw you, I was like, well, would you be interested in Caroline? Because I felt like you really fit that
Yeah,
role.
definitely.
And also it was such a kind of a departure from a lot of your other roles that I've seen, that
Hmm.
I thought it would be kind of a cool like door to kick down, for your resume in a different direction to
Yes.
show your range there. Okay, so you get cast as Caroline. You get the script. Now, without going into like spoilers, obviously, what did you think of the script when you read it?
I was like, well, because I've produced things before, I was like, oh my God, how are they gonna shoot this? Because they were like, yeah, that was my first thought. There were so many locations, so many characters involved. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? But
There's not. I mean, there's locations, but it's the same locations like reused.
that is true. Yeah. But when you're reading it for the first time, you're like, oh, a house, another house, a detective's office, a hospital,
Mm,
all those things. And you're thinking like, okay, that's like a lot. Um, and I think this project, this script, when I read it, it complements Twin Peaks so well. Like it's not even like a fan film because it's just it tells the story about very important characters and very important things that happened. I'm trying not to like
Well,
reveal
people who have seen the trailer, they know that
yeah.
Caroline's in it. So, which made me laugh when people started seeing pictures being dropped. They were like, "Is that Caroline?" And I was like, well, did you read the Indiegogo campaign? It clearly says Cooper, Caroline, Annie, and Wyndham Earle in there. But the Annie thing kind of took over because it's kind of the primary focus there. But I think it's safe to say that Caroline plays a major role in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you read the script, you're thinking, now you've done lots of independent films. You're thinking to yourself, how the heck are they gonna pull this off?
Yeah.
I never had that feeling. I knew it was possible because I wouldn't have written it to be something I couldn't make.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not until you start breaking it down and you realize, oh my goodness. And I realized that kind of right away, that I was going to need like a real partner on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while to find that person. Yeah, I had various people kind of come in and out flirting with the idea of, that would be a lot of fun. And then they realize how much work it is.
Exactly. It's a lot of fun, but oh my God, Maddie did a wonderful job. You guys,
But it's like, I mean, for someone of her age to take this on. And I think she kind of like was with like me, which is like, well, of course we can do this.
Yeah.
But it's not until you get into the nitty gritty details where you're like, oh my goodness, like how much of my brain power is going to be dissolved by this. Anyway, so okay. So what did you think of the character of Caroline when you read her? Was this something that you were like, oh, okay, that's nice, or were you like, okay, this is something I can really do something with? I'm setting you up because because I think that you took the role and I thought you were perfectly cast and you worked really well. But then as we were filming, we really evolved her into even more than what she was on the page.
Yeah, I just love that. Well, first of all, it's a good thing that, Caroline wasn't in the original series, as a character. She was just mentioned, and she appears like once or twice.
She appears in a still photograph.
Yeah.
And then she appears like as a memory, and then she has like a couple lines in the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And who knows if that's really her, right?
Right. So it wasn't like, playing Dale Cooper where people have certain expectations, So I had a lot of freedom with Caroline, and I absolutely love that character because there's so many contradictions. And it's always fun to play. Like from the outside, she's this prim and proper housewife, but then inside, it's just like all of those demons and all that darkness, and it's just amazing.
People really liked the scene in the trailer where you throw open the door and you're cross-examining Cooper. I think it kind of made them laugh because I think we've had discussions about this too, where it's like, I think people hear Cooper and Caroline and it's like, the door opens up and the music swells and they just fall in love with each other, and just Wyndham Earle just doesn't understand their love. And it's a bit more complicated than that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So you had to do a few things. You are based out of LA. And we were shooting up here. It's about a 6-hour drive. Mm-hmm. So for about 3 months or so, you were commuting up here on weekends to shoot to shoot your part. Not every weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
there were breaks, but you actually went above and beyond. You didn't do the wig thing. You actually did your hair.
Which I regret.
You regret it? Why?
Dude, I still have like I'm growing it out because so I have to thank my makeup artist and my hair person, Jessie, who did my makeup, who traveled with me, who cut my hair. But as you know, back in those days, they had these layers, right? And this poof thing, right? And my hair was always like straight. And so Jessie had to cut my hair in layers. So it's still growing out. And sometimes I'm like standing in front of the mirror. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hair because it's like all over the place. But I did it. And it looked really good. I mean,
You look exactly like Caroline.
yeah.
I mean,
So
I had one person write in and just say they had to watch the trailer like 3 or 4 times. They're all, where the heck did you find that actress to play Caroline? And I will say this, one thing that I'm really, really proud of, and something that took a while to do, obviously, and you aren't involved with a lot of other actors in the film, but I would say that this film is incredibly well cast, where when you see the film, I don't have to put up a title card saying who they are. You kind of know who they are.
yeah.
I mean, Paul, who plays Wyndham Earle, your husband, he kind of just is Wyndham Earle.
He's the best. I'm telling you. He's just, oh my God. I loved working with him. And Nico, of course. I mean, yeah, it's the cast is just perfect.
So, how do you view Caroline and Wyndham Earle? Because we never saw them in the show, but like, how do you view them as a couple?
You know that I had my theory that I shared with you guys.
But the viewers haven't heard it, so go ahead.
Okay. Now I'm just wondering if I can talk about it.
Well, just don't go into like specifics of the film, but just you can talk about what you think.
So, how I played it and what I didn't decide it before we started shooting. It kind of came to me. Things just come to me, you know, ideas, they come to me.
You're right.
But I have to dive deep for those ideas. But they just come to me. So I think Caroline and Wyndham, they are both really dark, disturbed, and crazy people. And they have nothing in common except for the physical attraction. So during the day, they do everything to kind of piss each other off. And then they have like the best sex ever. But then she meets but Cooper is the love of her life, right? But he's just too, I don't know. I don't think it would ever work out. She would get bored of him, in my opinion.
So what you're saying, if I can read between the lines there, is that even though Wyndham and her have nothing in common and they kind of hate each other,
they do. Yeah.
At the same time, they don't know, they wouldn't know what to do without each other.
Yeah, you know, it's like a game. They playing this game with each other and other people. Like, who knows? Maybe there was another Cooper before Cooper. You know what I mean? Like
I remember
they're just so twisted.
Because I remember us talking about like, well, does she really like Cooper, or is this just a thing of foreplay for them? is Wyndham and Caroline using Cooper to spice up their relationship.
No, well, I think in this case, it's more serious than that. I think she
Right.
really has feelings for
Oh,
Cooper.
absolutely.
They do love each other. It's a very, it's a beautiful, pure relationship.
But it's a
But
summer romance. It's
yeah, pretty
not
much.
because if she had left Wyndham and Cooper and her had been together, they probably would have been together 6 months before
Mm-hmm.
before some major fallouts would happen, because I think that Cooper might be a little too pure for her.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And even though that
definitely.
may be what she's attracted to.
Initially, but then she would either destroy Cooper or she would just leave,
Mm,
you know?
which would destroy him anyway.
Yeah.
So it basically, Caroline would have played a major role of sadness in Cooper's life, regardless of whatever happened.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So you get the part, and this project has gone through so many twists and turns, as many of the viewers know. So you had the part, and we had a different Cooper, and we had a different Annie at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I contact you, and I'm like, we're gonna try and get this together, and I'm gonna go to the Pacific Northwest. We're gonna shoot some stuff with the Annie, and then we'll set the dates and go from there. So I go up to the Pacific Northwest. We shoot the stuff with Annie. We get back, and she quits after flying her up there, filming all this stuff, right? So then I contact you and the others, and I say, well, our Annie quit. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. We don't have another Annie. We don't have like a stand-in here. So I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. You're on a lot of projects. I let you know about this. I know the first thing that happened was that you were quite pissed. Obviously
Yeah.
not at me, but at the whole situation in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you're trying to plan things. You're trying to, you're getting your hair all ready.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it's like, no, we're going to have to take a longer break to get everything back up. At that point, was there ever a part of you, because I admit there was a part of me that felt this way. Was there ever a part of you that felt like this wasn't going to happen?
To be honest, no, because I don't know. I just had a feeling that no matter what, this is gonna happen. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I just had a feeling. Um, and I'm a very patient person, and when I commit 100%. So, um, I did not like the fact that I had to change my schedule and work around certain things, but I just had a feeling that it was gonna happen, and guess what? It happened the best way possible. Like you got the best Annie, you got the best everything. So it was meant to happen.
I know, I agree. I feel like all these stop starts, as frustrating, as horrible as they were,
Hmm.
led to, you know, our Cooper being cast, or Annie being cast, and all that, and also that length of time allowed me to meet other people who then got us some really awesome locations, and like some of them we got for free. I remember your face when you when you were like, you guys are in a real hospital.
Yeah, I could not believe that.
Because for the longest time I was looking at, okay, am I going to have to rent out a hospital set? Like
Yeah.
Los Angeles has plenty of them, but they're always like $1,500 a day,
Mm,
and that wasn't going to work well with our budget
yeah.
here. So, but we ended up getting the real thing, and obviously that works a million times better. So you're commuting up back and forth. You're involved with the film. What was your now your part's wrapped. You're totally done. So thank goodness for that. Because when the pandemic happened, I was like going, okay, how much more do we have left to shoot? Because it came right at the last like week and a half of us shooting. So at least a lot of the, not all of it, but a lot of the big stuff was wrapped. You being one of them, which was great. So when you were coming up, because it's a long drive going up back and forth, and you'd never been up to this area and stuff. It's I mean, obviously it's fun traveling with Jesse and music and all that. So as you were working on this project, what were you thinking as you were coming back and forth? Because when you did show up, I mean, obviously you were fully prepared. You knew, you know what was happening. You knew the lines and the part and all that. Were you getting like more and more excited as you were working on this project, or was this one of those projects where you were excited, you were into it, but you were just counting down the days till it was over?
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, folks, that while she was working on this, she's also acting, writing, and producing her own film that she's doing in Los Angeles. So she was doing both simultaneously.
Yeah. So I just remember, I think the hardest part was the first weekend, because we were shooting until what time? Like
we did two nights in a row
until midnight.
One.
And then we had a call time the next morning,
at
7, 8 or 7. Which means that for, hair and makeup, I would have to like get up around 5 or 6. So that was really, really hard, especially 2 days in a row. But well,
let me just pause there. You know how some couples, like, they don't see each other, and then when they see each other, they just have sex like all weekend long, and then like they don't see each other for like a month, and then they see each other. That's kind of like what this filming was like, because it wasn't like a traditional film schedule where it's like, okay, Monday we'll do this, and then Tuesday we'll do these things, and kind of spread it out. It was like,
yeah, but you know what? In some weird way, I really enjoy that. Like that, I love working like 12 hours and then sleeping for 4 and then doing another 10 hours is such a delight.
Another 10, it was like another 12 or 13.
Okay. At that point, I didn't even know what my name was, but hey, I mean, I actually enjoyed it. It was hard, but I loved it. So, yeah.
I mean, Maddie and I talked about this on the other video, but like the day that we did the Black Lodge set, we had that set for one day, and it was literally like a 14-hour day. It was so long.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of it's technical stuff and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we were doing like it was so erratic, because sometimes it would be like 12-hour days, or your call time would be like 5 at night, and so you'd have like all day off.
Yeah.
Or we would shoot in the morning and then come back at like 6 o'clock at night. So there'd be like these, like we either went like all day, or we went like stop starts. But
yeah, I remember that we would shoot in the morning, then have a break. Me and Jesse go to Whole Foods, then we go back to the hotel room, take a nap, get up, and do it again.
And do it again. And being in the mind state of, you have to keep in mind that Caroline has been married to Wyndham Earle for about 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So she's not going to be completely normal, right?
And so, she's not.
So you living in Caroline's mind state. I know you're one of those actors, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're able to kind of turn it on, turn it off. You're able to be Charlotte and then be Caroline. But I also think that, you're kind of mentally preparing yourself, because like when you showed up, you had done so much work on who she was and her background and all that. So it wasn't like you were showing up and had no clue what you were doing,
Mm.
which is, I have to say thank you so much for that, because I don't think that any of the 4 leads in this film, you could be like that. I don't think you could just show, with the speed we were going. I don't think that you could just show up and be like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah. No, definitely.
And there was a lot of stuff we were kind of like playing around with. I mean, there was
Yeah.
lots of like moments here where it's like, okay, let's try this or let's try that. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And we definitely got to, and there are things we shot that aren't even in the script. We would just get inspired, like, hey, let's just try that. So it was very, in a way, very
Oh, I
different,
love those moments. Those are the best.
because there were moments that like you have some things you do and say, I don't think they're in the script, but we would just be like, you know what? I think this would be the most inappropriate time for you to either do this or say this. And we would just try it. And those ended up being some of my favorite moments we shot. And even though like the characters on the page, we just kind of amplified her a lot more,
Yeah.
and made her definitely the center of attention.
I love that.
So, you primarily acted with Nico, who plays Cooper, and Paul, who plays Wyndham. And a lot of your scenes are in domestic situations. And then what happened was, I think it was like over the Christmas break, my wife and my kid and I, we went to the Aquarium, which is local here, and just had a good day. And I was like, oh, you know what? It would be so much fun to like see Cooper and Caroline like out of whatever domestic situation, police situation we have here. Let's get them out into some sort of normal world here. And I was like, yeah, but that's kind of not Pittsburgh-ish or whatever like that. And then I Googled Pittsburgh and they have an aquarium. So I was like, okay, that's it. They kind of sealed the deal.
Yeah.
So I throw this out to you and I'm just like, hey, what do you think about this idea about going to the aquarium? And you're like, yeah, sure. It's fun. What was that day like for you? Because we shot a bunch of stuff that day. I mean, it wasn't even really on the schedule. It was like, okay, we're just going to shoot a bunch of stuff of Cooper and Caroline together. And so let's just start at the aquarium. And what was your takeaway from that day?
That was such a beautiful day. We did so much, and the footage that we had from the aquarium, I mean, it's just beautiful. And I think it just added to the movie.
Yeah, I thought that the more, obviously, the more you and Nico acted together, obviously there's more, more of a chemistry, more of a history being built up. And I think it was important, obviously, to kind of just get you guys out of the sets that you guys had been accustomed to, and just kind of spice it up a bit. All right, so you shot your part. You go back to life in LA. We were supposed to be doing the sound work for the film, but obviously the pandemic thing happened, so that's going to end up being a little bit later, unfortunately. But at least the film will most likely come out this year, which is I'm still super happy about. No, look, we only have a couple days.
Hey, you don't know. Aliens, anything can happen.
Okay, I know. Weirder things have happened in the whole history of this entire project. All right, so let me ask you this. The trailer drops. You had seen like pictures and things like that. But the trailer drops. What was your reaction to the trailer when it dropped? Because it had been a few months removed from since you had acted in the film.
Oh, I think I cried a little bit because it's so beautiful. I love it. And it's just like, it has so many layers. It's so deep, the story and, the characters. They just like.
There's a lot of those scenes you weren't a part of. So you were seeing like other footage of other stuff with Annie and things like that.
Yeah, I was just like really proud because, you know, the work that you've done and like just seeing that it's coming together and it's looking really good. I
Thank you.
mean, it's a beautiful thing, you know?
Well,
It,
it just kind of shows that we weren't crazy.
mm.
We went into this with the best of intentions, and I think it's really gonna show through.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
I love seeing people being passionate and committed. And do you know how many people talk about like shooting something? They have ideas. Here in LA, everybody has a script. You go somewhere, everybody has a script. You know, Uber driver has a script, waiter has a script. Everybody has an elevator pitch, but the difference is there are people who talk and there are people who do. And especially with this movie, so many things went wrong and so many things happened. You know, it's like staying so committed to it. It's just a beautiful thing. And now we have so little to do and it's going to come out
Yeah,
hopefully.
we had a crew that deserted the film. We had 3 Annies before Maddie.
Yeah.
We had half of the online Twin Peaks community like completely turn their back on the project and pretend it's not even happening, even though it is the 4th biggest Twin Peaks project of all time as of right. No, it's the 5th. The 3 series and the movie. So obviously I don't have that millions of dollars of budget, but it is the 5th biggest Twin Peaks project, non-canon though, project thus made so far, which I'm super proud of. Now, working in independent film, I think it's important for people to know there was like, with the exception of Jesse doing your hair and makeup, really it was like myself and Maddie doing. There's no crew.
Everything.
There's no crew on this film.
Yeah.
And I remember talking with you about that before. Like, do you know anybody? Do you know people? Because obviously you had done stuff, but a lot of people were down in LA. They're super busy, you know, and all that. Coming up with a crew around here was like pulling teeth. And so I guess the proudest thing I am about the film so far is that it looks really good. And that's with no help. You know what I mean? Or very little help.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, oh my God, thank God it's not like a complete because I mean, we were shooting, like we were starting about all these long hours. But up until that weekend, like Maddie and I are planning everything that entire week, getting the costumes, getting the, you know, content. And, you know, we're doing these costumes where it's like, Charlotte, what size are you? What should we get? I mean, we had no one like tailoring things. It was like, you know, we put on the costumes and we made adjustments if we had to do that. We started pinning things and all that kind of stuff. So it was like super stressful, like, you know, and then when we would get a scene done, we're like, oh, thank God that's done. And we can scratch that off and throw that costume and prop over in that direction over there. So to me, that's the biggest thing is like, I can't believe we pulled this off with so little. And so when you're reading the script, when you're seeing the trailer, does it kind of match a little bit of what you were reading in the script? Because you had read the whole script. You didn't. Most people, with the exception of the main actors, everybody else just got their scene. So nobody else in the film really knows what the film is.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because I mean, why should, you know, a person with one line over here get the entire script?
Totally, yeah.
Right. Especially since you know, there were so many people kind of gunning for this project,
right?
Wanting to tear it apart, which flabbergasts me all the time. Like, you guys do all this awesome art stuff over here, and you guys are, you know, make this great Twin Peaks type of music over here. Why are you crapping all over me.
Yeah.
It just never made any sense. But we got a couple questions here. Hang on. Jamie says, what's your favorite memory from being on the set?
Oh gosh. Oh, I know. I really, really enjoyed filming at the hospital.
Now, don't go into too many details about it, but
Well, I'll just say that I was allowed to go really crazy at a certain point, which I love. Huh?
I'll say it before. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm so glad we wrapped out the hospital, because there's no way, given the current situations, we would ever be able to go back there and finish.
Yep.
And what's funny is, I don't think you know about this or not, but Annie has some scenes in the hospital too, as you see from the trailer. Mm-hmm. And the one of the people that oversee the hospital said, "Oh, we have a new resident that we put in the room you were using, but it's okay because the room next door is identical, right?" And we're like, okay. And we get there, and it is identical in terms of where the bed is, but it's not identical in terms of the wallpaper, the curtains, or anything.
Oh my gosh.
So we literally had to like use all our brain power that day of like, how the heck are we going to make this look like the other room that we've been shooting in? So that was a crazy thing.
How did you make it happen?
What
about the wallpaper?
We shot ultra close-ups on people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I changed the whole shot list, because it was supposed to be wide shots and all that stuff. Then it became this.
Right. Oh my God.
Okay. Kareem in the chat says, Charlotte, what's the secret to a good story?
Oh my God, you should ask that my husband. He teaches screenwriting. I don't know anything about that. A secret to a good story. Mystery, I would say. Because when I'm watching something, and I really do these days, I haven't watched any TV in months, because nothing really excites me.
Well, you're also really, really busy.
True,
and that,
but yeah, I can rewatch things. I can rewatch David Lynch, Kubrick, Lars von Trier. Like I can rewatch all of those movies, and what they all have in common is, I think, I just love stories about people, and how, what I love about David Lynch is that he portrays this beautiful world, small town, and everybody is nice and perfect, but then underneath there's this darkness.
Right.
That's what I mean when I say mystery. Like, we like to uncover things. We like to see things, yeah.
So obviously, without getting into spoilers, how does Queen of Hearts differ or is similar to Twin Peaks? Because you're very well versed in, unlike some actors that are involved with the film, that had to become versed in Twin Peaks. You were already versed very well in Twin Peaks and David Lynch. So when you read the script and then you're in the film, like, do you feel like the film has a kinship with the series? It's also very different from the series in a lot of ways, but it's obviously takes place in the world.
Right. So what I like about it is that it's not trying to be Twin Peaks. arcs. You know what I mean? Like, you're not trying to be season 5 or Fire Walk with Me #2, or you know what I mean? Like, you're not trying to be something. It is, of course, you know, the characters are the same, and the inspiration comes from the show, but it feels like its own project, like its own little world. And yeah, so there are a lot of similar things, but yeah, I'm afraid that I'm gonna say something that I'm not supposed to.
Well,
So
well,
yeah.
Jamie in the chat says, I could tell by the trailer that I'm going to really love your take on Caroline.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, because I have to say, I mean, Caroline could easily be, if you could go one way too far with it or go too far the other way. It was about obviously walking that tightrope, where she
Exactly.
had to be definitely a woman with a few screws loose,
Mm-hmm.
but also somebody who could, under circumstances, be a professional lawyer.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Be able
Totally.
to hold that all in, and then blah.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
And there is a scene in the film. I don't want to get into spoilers, but there is a scene in the film which I know is, I think, Charlotte's favorite scene of the script and the film, that you'll know it when you see it. And it actually, I thought that scene was going to be one of the longest nights of my life, and we ended up actually getting it fairly quickly. I did think it was going to be. I don't want to.
Which one?
You know what I'm talking about. There's
No.
a big scene between you, Cooper, and Wyndham. And yeah,
Oh, okay.
and I thought it was going to be literally like 15 hours of our life. I kept telling Paul, like, this is going to be a long night, so just be patient here. And then we ended up getting it before, I think around 11:15 we were done. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I think Maddie and I were like, oh, thank God, because we were just like, this could take forever, just because of the coverage and the angles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So a couple quick questions. Unless someone else has if you have any questions for Charlotte, throw them out in the chat. And then, but I got a couple of questions for you. One is, how amazing was it to be able to shoot in that house?
Oh, that was so good. It was such a perfect house. I can see Caroline actually living there. Thank you, Mindy and her mom, for letting us use it. They were amazing, such amazing hosts.
They opened up the house to us. They they just wanted to know what rooms we were shooting in what night, so they could clean up around that area. We were in there long hours, and they just completely just opened their house up, and it was incredible. Now I have to say, I don't know if you know this or not, but like after you were wrapped, we had to go shoot at another location for another scene.
Mm-hmm.
And we found a house that was like almost what I had visually pictured when writing the script. Because the house we ended up using for you and Wyndham was not how I envisioned the house in the film.
Oh, okay.
I always thought it was more of a smaller house, more cramped, more just kind of dark and just kind of just kind of like a 1950s tract home that just was like a one floor type of thing. And we found a house like that, and it was actually like we walked in, we saw the interior, and we're like, oh my God, this is perfect. And at first I was kicking myself like, oh man, like now I get to see this house that I kind of like was visualizing, because the house we used is huge and big, and it's a 2-story with a big staircase, and very different than what I pictured. However, in talking with Maddie about it, it kind of dawned on me that the house that we found, that I was like, oh, this would have been great, in the end probably would have been wrong, because that would have been Wyndham Earle's house with Caroline in it. Whereas what we shot was Caroline's house and Wyndham comes and goes.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately what happened was the best choice.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Caroline would have lived in Wyndham's world. Wyndham would have had to live in her world, because otherwise she probably would have left.
Oh my God. Yes.
So
yes,
that's how we justified it to ourselves. And I adore the house we shot in. I mean, I think it's magnificent. And it definitely is the kind of house that a lawyer would buy and have her schlub for a husband kind of be there with her. All right. So now you've worked with a lot of filmmakers, a lot of stuff, there's a few people, won't go into names, but there's a few people out there in the Twin Peaks community out there that before this project even happened were like blasting me in terms of like, oh, this guy wants to make this film, he's never going to make the film, he's just saying this and that, and oh, he's they don't even know who I am, but they're just like shouting from the rooftops that like, oh, I'm some horrible human being and that type of thing. What was your experience with me as a colleague, a coworker, filmmaker directing you? What was your experience? Did you have what some in the Twin Peaks community felt like, that I was going to be a just crazy tyrant? What was your experience?
Me and Jesse have this running joke. Just one more take. Just one more take. I love directors like you. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it can be annoying, but I mean, but exactly, like I can't even, like, I don't know anyone else who could direct this project, right? You know exactly what you wanted and you were going for it every single time, every single take, which I really, really admire. So yeah, I mean, we did a lot of takes, a lot of long scenes, a lot of long nights, but it had to be done.
I think if we had just done 2 takes and walked away, I think you honestly would have lost confidence in the production.
Exactly. I love that you had this very strong vision and you did it.
But I mean, hopefully I wasn't like a jerk about it. I was just kind of, I was just like, can we do one more?
Yeah. Just one more.
But the thing is, though, when you see the pictures, when you see the footage,
exactly,
it's there. I mean, so it's not like I just like, made you guys work hard and then you saw the footage and you're like, well, this is crap. This looks terrible.
Absolutely. It was worth it. Like, what's his name? Billy Wilder. He used to do 150 takes because he was waiting for the happy accident to happen. So, I mean,
well, the thing I noticed about you guys, and this isn't a slam on anybody, this has to do with you, it has to do with Nico and Maddie and everyone, was the more takes you guys did, the better you guys got. Now, some actors, like Paul, for instance, he's, within 3 to 4 takes, he gives it to you and he's good. But then there's some actors that really need to warm up.
Yeah.
And luckily, most of the cast was like that. Yes, it made it more time consuming, but at least you guys weren't on different levels, right?
Yeah.
It's like you guys were all getting better together.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like, well, you peaked early and then someone else has to do something, more. It's like you guys all rose together, right? And that's, it made for long nights, sometimes made for long days. But the thing is that it just, because there's so many, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn at all, but there's a lot of layers in this film. A lot of layers in terms of the roles, what's going on in the film. So it's like you'd play the scene, not saying you, but just in general, you'd play the scene, and that was just about getting the tempo. And sometimes we changed it. Like we shot one way in like November, and I think when you guys came back after
Christmas, we reshot it. Yeah, but here's the thing, because the character was actually, I think she came to me not right away, but a little bit later. So because of all that work, it just became much stronger. You know what I mean? And I would rather do 100 takes, but then I feel like I've done everything. Like I'm empty. I'm exhausted. You know what I mean? That's how it should be done.
But I think what I was saying was that when you guys came back from the Christmas break, we then got into a rhythm of let's rehearse this first and like get it down the way we really want it, so that we didn't have to do multiple takes of, okay, let's get the performance in tempo here. Let's, so we would lock it in before, and then start shooting. And actually, I think that sped up the process quite a bit, because
it did.
Everybody is coming from, you're coming from traveling, other people are coming from work, then they have to get in their costumes and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, you got to shred the day, and now it's FBI, Pittsburgh, all this, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a lot to take on. But I think when you were there, it definitely spiced it up, because it was like, when it was just the two guys, right? They're great, they're doing a good job of it. But when you throw Caroline into the mix, it just it really just, you bring that certain spice to the proceedings, and just all of a sudden it's like you're the wild card.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So I remember saying to Maddie, I said, yeah, it's usually around 11:15, midnight. That's usually when Nico would start to crash, and then you would start to crash, and then usually we try to wrap it up. But if we end up going longer, it was like you guys would like break into like hysterical laughter, and that would like either prolong it in one way, or it would make it like, okay, now we've descended literally into madness at this point.
Yeah.
So do you find that often for you? Like if you go to a certain hour, all of a sudden you're just, not that you give up, but you're just, your brain just, you're fried, you're done?
Well, my regular schedule is that I wake up at 5. Before the lockdown, I used to wake up at 4:30, which means I go to bed at 9 or 10, right? So 11 and midnight, to me, it's like I don't even understand what's going on. Like I need my sleep. But I think, combination of that and all those emotions, and just going over and over and over and over. It does something to your brain. You just like.
We have a juicy comment or question for you. Here we go. All right. Kareem wants to know, did you ever disagree with me on set? And if so, how did we go about resolving the disagreement?
Physical fights. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I don't think so. Did we ever? I don't remember. See, this is one of the reasons I wanted to work on this project and I enjoyed it so much because I trust you. Like I know what you're doing, and that's very important, especially, this project, this particular project. It's very important if you can just trust the director and, and just do what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like if it was any other project that had nothing to do with Twin Peaks, um, I don't know, maybe I would kind of, but I don't know. It depends on the director because, it's so important that the actor can trust your vision, that there are no disagreements really because, I know that you know what you're doing. So,
I don't remember having like an argument with anybody on
no.
this. I mean, there were times I think that, and I don't mean this like personally at all, but I think there were times where we probably at some point, all of us got on each other's nerves a little bit just because we were putting in so many hours
Yeah,
and
tired and
but,
yeah.
but it wasn't like I was never like cursing
No.
everybody's names and like and all this. It was more of like look, I want to go home just as much as you do, but we got to get this right. you know
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
this is our
mean,
one time to get it. We don't, I mean,
yeah.
this isn't like a Hollywood studio where it's like, well, let's just close down for a night and tomorrow we'll come back and reshoot
Mm-hmm.
the scene. It was like we either get this scene or it's not in the film.
Right.
you know
Well, I mean, when you're working 12, 13, 14 hours and you're like super tired and, you do get a little bit irritated and stuff like that, but all of us did
but
at
we
some
never
point.
but
But
we never use that irritation to like snap at
no,
each other.
mm-mm,
We could tell
no,
that like, okay, we're all getting a little testy at this moment,
yeah,
but we would never like cross that line. And honestly, I think if any of us were terrible, horrible people, I think we would have crossed that line at some of those points.
yeah,
But I have to say that when I was going through the footage, and because I'm more than halfway done editing the assembly cut, which I'm very happy about. I still got a lot to do, and we still got some stuff to shoot, and I don't know when that's going to be wrapped because it all depends on locations and
yeah,
hairstyles and that kind of thing. Hopefully we can get it done quick because I would love to just be done,
yeah,
and then because then everything else is just kind of like, oh, we just needed a pickup shot over here, we needed a little thing over here. That's a lot easier than having to go and shoot whole scenes.
yeah.
And there is one major sequence of the film that ended up having to be dropped because of this whole pandemic thing, which really irks me. However, we did find sort of a replacement thing that will work the same emotionally. It just won't be as visceral as what we wanted. But it's not so much, it's not in the film because we couldn't pull it off. It's just due to the circumstances, we just can't do it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm amazed at how much we did pull off
I know.
in the film. I mean, for the budget we had, and the budget we raised isn't the budget we had because it PayPal fees and Indiegogo fees and tax fees and stuff like that. It really kind of whittled down. But I mean, when you look at the trailer, when you look at the film, when you see the locations, and hopefully you get a sense that this was a huge undertaking, a huge undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
And losing my train of thought here. But I just, like I said, I was going through the footage, and it's just like I was so proud of everybody's performances, and you just like are like, it's so wild what you're doing, and hopefully you're able to see that. I mean, like when you were looking at the trailer and you were seeing, because you're in obviously a lot of the trailer, you know, what was your, I mean, I know you said you were proud of the trailer, but what did you think of you as the character now that you're seeing it?
I like her. Yeah. God, being an actor is just so amazing that you get the opportunity to live so many different lives. But it's still you, like it's coming from you. So
Mm.
yeah.
Well, I think that if luck has it, and you know, someone shows the film when it eventually drops to David Lynch, I will not be surprised if he makes another film or series or whatever that he casts you in it, because you definitely would fit into his world.
I know. Oh God, yeah, I know that. Well, I hope he will. I really do.
Well, I think that my hope, of course, is that um, that all the people who support this film will obviously check it out. And I was having a conversation with Maddie about this a few weeks ago. Um, I think that this project is going to, I think a lot of people are going to see it. Hopefully they like it. But I think the next year and the year after that and the year after that, I think it will only grow in terms of popularity, because there's always new Twin Peaks fans coming out, and once they get into it, they're going to want to see more. And even though it's not canon, it does fit into the world very well. So I think that people will go, "Hey, have you seen this? You should really check this out." And that's my hope, is that it will be a part of the fan conversations. And I'm really hoping that it makes a big splash on, for a lot of people, so that you guys are able to, proudly have this on your resume, and, and hopefully, it will lead to more jobs, because people will be like, "Oh, I saw you in that."
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my hope. That's my dream.
Yeah.
So,
That's so exciting.
All right. Well, I think that's probably about it. I don't see any more questions here, but I just want to say, Charlotte, thank you so much for joining in. It's so great. One, it's great to see you just in general, because I haven't seen.
Likewise.
Was it February? Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
like
Mhm.
like early February you wrapped.
Like mid I
Was it
don't
mid?
know. I don't remember. Or early, yeah.
Yeah,
But
it was
hey,
in, yeah. So
been a while.
it has been a while. So it's great to see you again, and we'll be seeing each other probably in a couple months when it's all done, and you have to come up and do some sound recordings for it.
Yeah. I
So it'll
can't
be.
wait.
I have to ask you, what did Jesse think of the trailer? Because he was.
Oh, he loved it. He was like, "Your makeup is amazing." I'm like, "Well, yeah, you did it." No, he loved it. He can't wait to see the movie.
He's sort of the unsung hero in many aspects of this film, because when you were first hired, you said to me, "Hey, do you mind? I have my own makeup person." I said, "Yeah, sure, it's fine." But he went above and beyond. He always had you ready to go.
Yeah.
But he also was willing to help out, because, he saw how much Maddie and I were struggling with a lot of things, and he helped out with a lot of stuff, with a lot of different aspects. I don't want to get into it because it'd be spoilers, but I cannot thank him enough. So I hope you please pass that word on to him, that
Of course.
and I know he knows how much he was appreciated in the moment, but I just want you to remind him how much he still appreciated, because we had so little help on this film that the help we had was like incredible. And I think a lot of people will be kicking themselves for not being a part of this project after it's all over and done with, because it's really cool. I think I think we did something quite unique.
We did, yes.
So, all right. Well, for those of you who would like to follow Charlotte on social media, she has Instagram at Charlotte Roy. You can follow her there. And yeah, so thank you, Charlotte, for joining. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. So take it easy. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure to follow Queen of Hearts on Facebook. Just Queen of Hearts Twin Peaks fan film. Check it out. And the film should come out later this year. I kind of had this vision that if I got it edited and the sound and everything good, that I could drop it. I could potentially drop it on the same day that I announced the project 3 years ago, which would be kind of awesome to do that. So anyway, all right, everybody, take it easy. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you soon. Thank you again for all your love and support. Bye-bye.